Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome. Uh, Probably a lot of new people coming from the giant Reddit post. Um, yeah, we're holding a live stream today to talk about what you guys saw on Reddit, have some live discussion. I mean, there was some really great discussion there. But I think, talking about it live might get some better answers to questions, or if you've thought about questions over the last 24 hours. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty, uh, in-depth stream. If you're new, you'll be able to learn all about what we've been working on for, the last 8 months here. So welcome everyone new. Um, and yeah, why don't we kick off with, I guess we have a little bit of a plan for how we'll do this stream. Um, but mostly it's just going to be a discussion about what you saw on Reddit yesterday.
We should introduce ourselves.
Oh yeah, that's true. We don't have the normal viewers. Yeah. So I'm Mateo. Or on Reddit I go by Lovely Uncle. I made that post yesterday. Um, I've been working on the 3D and failure detection for the last couple months now. And yeah, I'm joined by Steven.
Yeah, I'm the Quinley product lead at 3DQ. And I've been working with Mateo for about 2 years, uh, trying to automate 3D printers.
Yeah,
It's kind of what we do.
that's the goal.
And yeah, recently we've been working on automating the supervision of 3D printers with the demo that you've seen on Reddit, which is what we've been calling QB3D. uh, Essentially a way to look at a 3D print that's been scanned and have our AI highlight areas with what it thinks are the fails in those areas. And it's gotten to the point where we're very proud of it, happy to show it off to you guys and to get your thoughts and opinions of it. It was really cool to see the response yesterday on Reddit.
Yeah, so just to give people a bit of an idea of who we are, we both work at a company that I co-founded called 3DQ. We're an extremely small team of mostly engineers. And yeah, Stephen mentioned like he's the lead for one of the other things that we're working on, which is automatic part removal, that doesn't rely on things like belts or robotic arms. And we're going to go through, why we're working on the failure detection now, but that idea that printers should be automated and scalable and easy to use for production for high volumes is kind of what's driven us to work on um, this software. It's nice to see everyone in chat, so maybe we can call out a few people. Um, Kevin, as always.
Hello, 3D Musketeers. Hello.
Oh, I talked to him earlier today.
Cool.
Yeah, 3D Musketeers is a really cool YouTube channel. Um, but yeah, I think for this stream, we should probably just get right into, um,
We
you
should
know,
talk what we're talking about.
talk what we're
What are we
talking
going to talk
about.
about? And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about it. And then we're going to tell you what we talked about. Yeah, so let's go. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the Quinley Vision 3D, um, I guess the engine that we showed on Reddit. We're going to be talking about sort of why we're building this in the first place. Um, Kind of, we'll give you kind of a timeline of where it was at like a few months ago, where it's at now, and where we see it in the future. And then we're also going to talk about like ways that you can help us, ways that you can support this really cool project that could be really helpful for the whole 3D printing community. So um, if you have questions in chat, let us like drop them in the chat. And depending on where we're at in the stream, we might answer them right away, or we might answer them when it's appropriate, because we don't want to like be too scattered when we're talking. So yeah, just drop your questions in. We'll get to them. If we end up missing any questions, let us know. Actually, you'll see behind us, these are all the submissions that we got from various people yesterday, and we scanned and ran them through our engine. So maybe, Mateo, you want to tell us a bit more about what we're seeing here?
Yeah, this is like a culmination of about 8 months of work that has all been distilled to one video, one Reddit post that a lot of people seem to really enjoy, which is really cool. Um, but yeah, we've been working on this for a very long time. The project was actually started by um, a, a hardware engineer named Leah uh, last summer, at the end of last summer, where so we have a print farm in house. We have about I don't know. Right now we're running 12 to 15 printers at a time. Um, with the rest of our automation, and we wanted a way to close the feedback loop on like, when a part is printed, is it actually being printed good or not? And so we started looking at like, is there failure detection out there that we can use? And there are a bunch of projects out there, but for what we're really looking to do, we needed something that would give us very specific results. So we started looking into doing it ourselves. Leah took on the project, and then she went back to university in the fall. So since then, I've been working on it. And yeah, so like there's actually a lot of sad, like crying, tears, and blood
Yeah,
like put into that like 30 or what 15-second demo that everyone saw yesterday.
but it was a really cool 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I even knew that Mateo was working on this stuff, and when he showed me, I was like blown away by it.
Yeah, it's nice to see it in a state that's working. And then I thought the really cool part was it's at a point now where we can take submissions from like people that were commenting. I thought
Hmm.
that was, a pretty key milestone. But that being said, like this is just the beginning. This is really far from being complete. And on the stream, we wanted to talk about like how we see this moving forward, uh, like the project itself, how we want to work with the community where we can in order to make this easy to use and accessible to everyone. Um, and yeah, we're basically just going to go through that and answer anyone's questions during the stream. We've got about 2 hours, so um, plenty of time.
Before we get started, Bruce Cooper's asking, how do we apply the failure detection to every other aspect of our lives?
Yeah,
It's
if
gonna
you
be hard.
that'd be so sad if you pointed at someone and it just says like warping
Warping.
at your face or something.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it could tell you like, if you're about to turn left into traffic and it's actually going straight would be a much better way. You could actually like highlight the box, like, don't go that way.
Yeah, we're gonna reach like level 4 autonomous driving with this failure detection. That's like the 2-year roadmap, right?
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of roadmaps, another thing for you guys, we're reading comments as they come in, but if you'd like us to discuss maybe a potential roadmap, definitely let us know. We might do that for next stream. Like I said, this is all very experimental tech, and uh, I mean, I want nothing more than to be able to send it out in a nice, usable package that you can just stick on your printer. But it's going to be a lot of work to get there, and I think community involvement is going to be really key to doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's another question from Bruce. Is it done with a single camera or do you have multiple cameras? Um,
It's a good question.
that's a good question. Should we maybe save that for later when we get into the
We can talk about that later. I think that makes sense
yeah.
because we're going to go kind of over a little bit more of how it works and sort of, yeah, just the general flow of things.
Hmm. So I think now, given like that, we've pinged our Discord, everyone that's joined, and yeah, if you came from a different Discord, maybe share out the stream because I think this is probably going to be one of the best opportunities to um, like voice your opinion in terms of the project and have your say because we're really like this is just really going to be a big I guess like a brainstorming session essentially. Like I said, we're still very early with this and we want to get as much feedback from the community as possible. Like I know the just I was probably on that thread for like 10 or 12 hours yesterday, um, reading through all the suggestions and reading through all the comments, and there have been some really, really good ideas and good use cases. Um, yeah, and I think like if we want to build this into something usable, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I think if we can work with everyone, it's it's a very achievable goal. Like despite how much work has gone into it so far, I think now if we have like community backing, it'll be pretty there will be a clear path forward, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about this technology is I could actually see this being like actually the future direction of like 3D printing. Um, like a lot of innovation is still yet to be done on the software side. Like the hardware, there's been a lot, but it's slowing down on the hardware side. But on software, I think we're just getting started. So I think if you share this around with other people, anyone who's interested in machine learning would probably really enjoy this because it's a very cool practical application. Um, yeah, I just think it'd be worth spreading the word a bit because if we get a lot of support, then we can get this out to you guys sooner, and like in a way that is useful to as many people as possible.
Yeah, and we'll go through that as well during this stream, like what how much work has to be done to get this out to people, and what you can do to help if you're interested in actually messing around with this for yourself. Um, so I guess for a bit of background on what we just generally do here is um, we we've started we work on automation software for 3D printers, and like I mentioned, beltless looping, being able to manage a farm from a single interface and having jobs automatically dispatched. So this is actually software that we sell and that we've kind of been using to finance the QV 3D stuff. Um, so that's kind of been the main thing. But what we quickly realized, like working with and talking to print farms that are trying to scale, there's actually it's hard to use 3D printers at scale right now.
Hmm.
So, um, the other work we have with automation with Quinley has removed a lot of the human barrier to scaling 3D printers. So by automating machines, I'm sure you've seen like um, with belt printers, for example, or you can imagine with our system, if you have it on a printer uh, and you don't need a human there supervising it 24/7, it's easier to add more and more machines. And that's what we've seen with the people we work with. Like they've been able to grow their farms. But another thing that we've started to notice is that, and this is like across all of 3D printing, whether you have one machine or whether you have 40 machines, detecting fails in a timely manner uh, is actually like a huge, I guess, a huge industry challenge, because if you wait for a fail to get too far in, there's really high potential that your machine is going to get damaged. So
Hmm.
one example someone told me, like there's this print farm and he does stuff for Etsy and he has 10 Prussias, and he says he does about like a nozzle change a week, or like he has to resolve at least one nozzle blob a week. And that might not sound like much, but when you're doing that on a weekly basis, and when you're as busy as you are trying to get through your print queue, um, that can be very expensive, because not only are you paying hardware costs to replace your nozzle, like I think no one is happy when they have to replace their heating block or nozzle, because it can be
Yeah.
expensive, but the amount of time lost due to downtime to having to fix it is also a huge problem. So like a lot of the print farms that we talk to that are just a couple people running around trying to manage all the printers, like they have a hard time hitting 60% uptime.
Yeah.
And with our automation system, that goes way up to like 95%, but it doesn't solve things like if a nozzle blob does happen, you still have to replace that hot end, and that printer is still out of commission until you solve it. Actually, one really giant print farm that I've spoken to, they have like 200 or 300 machines. What they do when a machine breaks down is they retire it temporarily. They just
Yeah.
like
It's
move it
not
to a
worth
different
doing anything
part.
with it.
Yeah, like it's so expensive for them to go in and try and fix these issues when they happen that they just put the machine to the side and like bulk fix them.
Yeah.
Like that, there's clearly something wrong there.
Yeah, and even with a print farm with like a well-running print farm, I guess you could say you only 1% of your prints fail. If you're printing like 100 parts a day, then you're getting one failure per day, and that could very easily turn into one nozzle blob per day that takes an hour to fix, and maybe you don't have an hour, so that printer is just sitting idle for 2 days before you find time to fix it. And that can actually add up to like thousands of potential, dollars wasted per year just because of print failures.
Well, even the print farms that we've spoken to, they because they need something like to fix things fast, they'll
Mhm.
replace the whole hot end instead of trying to repair it. And
Yeah,
I know, you
because
know,
sometimes the thermistor dies when you
yeah,
rip the nozzle
exactly.
blob off and stuff.
And so like it's cheaper for them to do that, but it still costs them thousands of dollars per year, and then plus the opportunity cost of not printing for that time.
Mhm.
I know just with my one printer at home, if I have to like if I get a giant nozzle blob, I'm gonna put off fixing it forever because I don't have time to deal with that. So even as a hobbyist, like it it definitely addresses it like a big problem. Being able to catch fails early. Now I know on the demo right now we're playing things of like completed parts in 3D, but the main like detection engine actually works with 2D footage as well. Do we have that here?
Yeah, it's in the video loop.
Video BG loop.
Yeah, just make a different one visible. Like the new images would be good.
This one. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
So this is actually our solution to print monitoring. Um, we want to be able to see the print happen in real time and scan it with the AI in real time. And I say scan, not like the 3D scan, but just looking at the image and processing that image. Um, and when our AI is confident that a failure has occurred, that's when the 3D aspect comes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So um, currently the idea is that when a failure is detected, the nozzle would move out of the way and the bed could move back and forth as the camera scans it. And that's actually where the comment about two cameras can come in. There could be a camera on either side, and the the photogrammetry software can use both views of the camera to reconstruct the model in 3D. And we say 360-degree failure detection, that's probably going to be with two cameras.
Yeah.
You can't get the backside of a part just with one
You can get
camera.
pretty
That's
close.
impossible.
Yeah.
But you can do two cameras and that would work.
So yeah, 3D Musketeer says broken printers get put in timeout until you have time to deal with more than one at once. So
Yeah.
that's like the problem. I think it's a 3D printing wide problem, and I won't go into too much detail on this stream, but there's this like habit that we formed as print operators of like minimizing work by batching. So you'll see like a lot of people, they're like, I don't have time to print 30 small parts one after the other. So I'm going to put them all on a big build plate. And as you can see from the video behind us, like substantial risk comes from doing that.
Yeah.
And there are softwares that like let you cancel certain prints if they're going wrong, but it needs to be coupled with something that can understand what is happening on the build plate at any given time. So that's what we're trying to build with Quinley Vision, with this failure monitoring, is have enough types of failures be detectable that you can like build a really good understanding of, okay, what's actually happening here, and then create some kind of automated response that's like specific to the situation that's happening. Because
Yeah.
just aborting a print or moving the hot end away is fine, but it still means a person needs to come there. Where we're really looking to take this is if we can get a specific profile of the issue, is there some live adjustment that we can do to save your print and to keep your printer running without you needing to be there?
Yeah, like all these prints you can see on the background, they're under extruded. If Quinley Vision detects that everything's under extruded, it could actually just slow down the print, for example. Say it just sets it to 75% speed. See if there's still under extrusion happening, right? And that's the kind of live adjustment that we want to be able to do um, in like a robust way. So that's kind of why we're spending all this effort to differentiate between like a spaghetti or a nozzle blob or under extrusion. It's because we want to have the best response possible
Yeah.
for any type of failure.
Yeah, and just maybe to give some of the new people, I see some new people in chat. Nice to see you, Aisha and Scorpio Magmas. Like where we're coming from, Stephen and I are both like very intensely 3D print hobbyists.
Yeah.
So like uh I ran a small like 3D printing side thing throughout high school and afterwards just selling parts that I was printing on my machine. Basically before it was huge on Etsy, back when 3D hubs was still a thing, before it got before it got axed. Um, I was doing a ton of print jobs on just my couple printers at home, doing my own projects. And even then, like as a, a pretty low impact user, like again, I was just doing it as a hobby. I was seeing these bottlenecks, and that's like in production, in usability, in accessibility of printers, and that's kind of what's driven this. 2.5 or almost 2.5 years ago, or almost 3 years ago, when we started 3DQ, the whole idea was here are all the problems I saw as a hobbyist, and like how do we make printers easier to use?
Yeah.
Um,
One of the big problems that I really faced, because I did the 3D printing as a side hustle as well.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Uh,
like everyone we hired with 3D printing experience, like
yeah.
everyone on our team is like from a very similar background.
Yeah. Well, I guess people in chat too would probably empathize with this. It's just if you have a print to do for someone and you need to print multiple pieces, sometimes that involves waking up at 3 a.m., restarting the
Oh yeah.
printer, and starting the next job and then going back to sleep. And I found out about 3DQ and I was like, okay, yeah, this is the solution. This is how this is how printing should be.
Yeah,
No more waking up in the middle of the night.
I still remember interviewing you.
Yeah.
So funny.
Good times.
Yeah, it was a short interview too. I was like, okay, this guy knows. I
Yeah.
think Steph would agree too.
You
It
either
was
have it
like,
or you don't.
yeah, it was funny. Um,
So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make 3D printers easier to use. Um, and so we've solved the first part with Quinley, so a printer that can start its own prints and keep printing without you having to be there. But then the second aspect of it is now we need something to watch Quinley. So
yeah.
we need a robot to watch the other robot, and then they can feed each other information, and that's how you keep systems in check. Like I come from a mechatronics background, and in most, if not every control system, there's some sort of feedback. So if you do something, you want to know that you've done it. You don't
Mhm.
want to just hope that it worked properly. And that's how 3D printing is for almost everyone. You just press the button and hope that it works. But we need
Or
that feedback.
or you stare at the first layer
You
for
just
like
watch it and make
20
sure it
minutes.
works.
I hate, yeah,
You put the tape down and the glue stick and all that.
it's not fun. But I will say nowadays, my printer is in the basement, like in a completely different room, and I can send it print jobs without anything because of all the automation systems. Um, so there are a couple of questions. Are you guys looking into partnering with bioprinting stakeholders? I feel like failure detection would be extremely useful in biotech, especially for bioprinting organs. I don't see why this model would would not be possible to adapt to it. I think if there was enough interest, like this is the thing, right? We're trying to like I would really like this because since I started printing, 7 years ago, I've been relying on the community to gain skill and knowledge, and that's why I want to work and try to give back to a community where I can with projects like these so that people can use their printers more easily. So if there is like I guess a substantial interest from bioprinting stakeholders, you know, I could totally see trying to adapt this for that. Like I said, this is all very early stage. We're just proving out the models themselves. It's like we have way more data for it to work on, and um, yeah, it just got to a point where I think I was comfortable with trying to get the wider community's feedback, and that's why we posted it online.
Yeah, actually, that's something we should talk about. Like, part of the reason we asked for submissions on Reddit, like for videos, was to show that our stuff actually works on your videos, not just the ones that we've created. So it was really cool to see that, yeah, some of you guys wanted to uh, take a quick 45-second video of your print and send it to us. That's what you're seeing behind here if you've just joined. And actually, if you haven't sent us a video, but you want us to run one of your videos, we're still accepting um, videos. So if you join our Discord, there's probably a link in the description. If you join our Discord, you can send us links to your videos and we'll run them and show you. And we'll actually show them on the next live stream, probably, anything that we get between now and next week. Because we will be streaming about once a week for the next few weeks.
So do you want to talk over these results with everyone, or?
Yeah, so let's go over sort of a bit. Well, do you want to go into the right into the Reddit, or do you want to go into
Yeah, sure.
our
Maybe.
original idea and then how it turned into a Reddit, or like what we posted on Reddit?
Okay, sure.
Because we could just briefly go over it.
Okay.
So
Because so for all of you guys asking questions, I've got them queued up on the screen here. So we'll get to it after this section. I'm also sorting them a little bit. So feel free to keep asking. We'll try to get to every single question. If I don't have time to answer them, we'll do a follow-up stream or something. Well, we'll do a follow-up stream next week, no matter what. So we'll get to those questions there. I'll make sure to do my best to answer everything.
yeah, we have put together a few clips of what the Quinley Vision was like 5 months ago when we were developing it, and it'll give you some like behind the scenes looks on how we actually trained this whole model for AI failure detection for 3D printing. It's actually an interesting part of being an automation company is we can run 3D printers in an automated way. And in that way, we're also automating the data collection that we use to then train our Quinley Vision AI. So one thing had to come before the other.
Yeah, so like out of the how many of us are there here? 6, right?
Yeah.
We have one person running our bank of printers. And so that's part of what made even working on this possible is when you're looking at printing like thousands of parts a month, it brings up a lot of problems that might not be so obvious right at the beginning. Do you mind going to the?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I prepared a little bit of a summary of how we had done this, but bottom line, the point is like we want robots to do all the work for us. So we built a robot to watch the robots that do the work.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like waking up at weird times of the night to go and check on the 24-hour print, it's not feasible like on any level. I'm sure so much sleep has been lost because of 3D printers. So like the benefit for you as a human is that you're wasting less of your time. Like I have a lot of anxiety or in the past I did when I was setting up prints. And I oftentimes didn't even want to start big printing projects because I know that I'd have to commit so much time to just making sure that the print would come out good. So it will save you a lot of time. Being able to remotely monitor this is also very important. And one of the big things for me and anyone, like when I was new to 3D printing, it's still not very easy to find resources out there. It requires like a huge time investment in order to learn exactly how printing works and what might be going wrong with your print.
You have to
Like,
like experience every fail once before you can learn how to avoid it,
yeah,
essentially. And
exactly.
everyone who prints kind of has to go through the same learning, which
It's
isn't fun. It's kind of painful.
yeah, it's like yeah, when you talk to people, it'll be like, "Oh, I did the exact same like the my first 8 months of printing were almost exactly the same as yours." And I'd
Yeah.
hit one thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it's just so like it
Y-
seems so unnecessary. So one of the big things that was discussed a lot in the thread too is because we can detect specific situations, there's like opportunity to maybe use this as an educational tool. Like point it at your print, and it can tell you, okay, I'm seeing, I don't know, maybe like under extrusion and then no extrusion, and that combination of things might mean that your nozzle has gradually clogged over time. So you want
Yeah.
to look at these resources, um, for how to fix it.
Yeah. And that's something you see a lot on online. People ask for help for specific print issues, and it's strange to say, but you could, like Quinley Vision might be a solution to a lot of people's problems as like a first point of contact. So if an AI can just look at an image and say, "Hey, you've got under extrusion. Here's how to fix under extrusion," a lot of the problem is just knowing what your problem is in the first place, or knowing what to Google. So if you can put your image and like through Quinley Vision and say, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. Tell me what's going on." You can just get it, even just a word to Google, and that's going to be like
It'll
instant
save
feedback.
so much time
Yeah, you get instant feedback. You don't have to wait for, the swarm of Reddit users to tell you what's wrong with your print.
in a not so nice way
Some of them
sometimes.
won't be very nice. Some of them will be wrong. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just something that could make the printing experience for beginners kind of
yeah,
easier to handle.
yeah. And a big part of how we do that and the building those resources is going to be turning to other print users and asking them like, hey, how do you fix this issue, or what does this issue look like, and trying to build like a community, a knowledgeable community, which we kind of have in our Discord, um, but to be able to help others get onboarded, because yeah, everyone should be able to use a 3D printer. It shouldn't be so hard.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I can't tell you the amount of like unused Ender 3s out there that people did like a couple prints on and then just stopped using completely because it was too hard to use, or like
Yeah.
anything more complicated they couldn't get working. It's really a shame. Um, so actually, this is going into where we started. I was gonna switch to a different slideshow here.
Oh yeah, so we can show sort of how we collected data um, was interesting because we like one of the hardest things about building like a machine learning algorithm is the actual data set itself. And since we have automated printers, we automated most of the data collection process. So as you can see behind us, this is just a time lapse of prints that we failed on purpose, and we failed a ton of prints on purpose. And actually, one of the Reddit comments on Reddit was funny. They were like, nobody here really understands the pain that their printers had to go through in order to get that data set. And they're super right. Like we failed hundreds and hundreds of prints for the name of science, um, as you can see. And well, it seems to have been worth it, and it seems to work. But we had some interesting solutions to problems. So like one of the problems was how do we consistently make prints fail? like um, we know how to make good prints because we do 3D printing all day. But um, we came up with ways to like make prints fail in a random way that would be hard to do manually.
Yeah,
So we made random algorithms that would mess up your G code and uh, what
yeah.
else? Yeah, like there was a
Like
lot of
it's a
different.
lot. That's kind of, I think that's probably why such a project hasn't like advanced to the point that ours has. Even though that, like, I'm not saying that ours is you know top of the line, like best right now, but just we have this really big opportunity to create something that can identify very specific issues in a way that other algorithms can't because of the way that we build our data set and have access to the data set. And I mean, of course, there's like all sorts of just building the model in a very specific way and combining concepts from different models out there that haven't been used before. Um, but one of the things with our data set is we've figured out a way to, well, basically we get access to, we could collect tens of millions of images a year in-house, and that's a pretty big part of how you get something so accurate. But then what you do with that data is also extremely important because just dumping data into a machine learning problem is not actually going to give you a good solution. You have to like be really clever and careful with how you use that information. And so that's one of the things that I think would be interesting to uh, talk about with everyone later is like, what are some good ways of collecting information? What are some common ways people might, um, mount their cameras to their printers to get the best view? Obviously, this model, again, it's very early stage, but it's not going to work with something like an endoscope cam. But, can you mount the camera pointing downwards, or can you mount it further away and have two printers in the view? Or maybe that's a preferred method of
But
mounting.
you can see that the AI works on the 3D, so there doesn't need to be a specific angle that you're looking at it. Um, but yeah, for example, those nozzle cams are super close-up pictures of just the nozzle. It's going to be a very different view for an AI than like the full print itself.
Yeah.
Um, and that's actually something that we haven't ruled out the concept of using an endoscope cam and using that to uh, run an AI through, but currently we're just looking at the bigger picture when doing this. Should we talk about what why we're going from 2D to 3D? So, because
Yeah,
recently that's kind of what we've been working on.
yeah, it's just cool. I don't know. It's
It's just
cool.
cool.
It's just cool. No, having being able to give the model 3D information is um, really helps with the detection. So like 2D images give you a lot of problems like background separation or like things blending into other things. How far away from the camera is it? So being able to like not just have a picture of what's going on, but a structure of what's going on really helps the model detect. So that's one of the reasons we went down that road. I mean, we do have like it does work really well now on 2D images as well. Like we have this very old. This is from like Leah's work in October, um, where like this is a very early prototype months ago, um, where we were just getting it to work on 2D images, and the next step was to get it to work on 3D. One of the huge benefits of 3D that a lot of people pointed out in the thread is maybe potentially having the option to compare it to the 3D file that you sent to print and seeing like not just seeing is there something wrong, but is there something wrong relative to the file I sent it. Um, and that could be like that could just you know improve the detection even more.
Yeah, we
Um,
can like keep on adding, I guess, layers of complexity slowly.
yeah,
Once the baseline stuff is working, then we're like, okay, if we can detect a fail, now can we improve quality, right? So once the failures that are like spaghetti and under extrusion are covered, we're like, okay, now how can we just make sure that parts come out the way that they were intended to be
yeah,
printed? So actually comparing, for example, like the actual print to maybe a G-code preview or maybe the STL file or something um, would be just the next step.
yeah. So we're like experimenting. The thing on Reddit you saw was experiment with neural radiance fields, and there's some like really cool cutting edge work out there that's actually been like nicely coming out with the work that we've been doing on the model. Um, like NV Labs has done some insane stuff. It's we use their like adapted their renderer to get the nerfs to render really quickly and like the interface and stuff. Um, and then you can like feed basically feed one thing into another, into another, into another, so that you get this like really precise, really accurate description of what's going on. But I, I don't think I can like overstate that this is still very early stage, very prototype, and um, getting it to something that you can use and like have in your hands is going to be a very long journey. And I hope like to be able to work directly with the community on that, because the more you can rely on the community and crowdsourcing uh, support, the more open things can remain. Whereas like, you know, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like the thing with more open projects, you kind of have to have it supported by a community. Otherwise, yeah, I'll go into like for those of you who want to know, I'll go into like just the amount of overhead that it would take to get this into a packaged product, and why, we would really like to work directly on the community with the community on this. Not to say the word community like 5 billion times.
We do have a very good community though.
Yeah, we do.
So
We have like insanely experienced people in the Discord already, and if you haven't talked to them, I would highly recommend it. Do you want to? Should we take some of the questions maybe?
yeah, sure.
Okay. So, if I miss your question, please just post it again. So we talked about the data set and a bit about what we're doing with it. Yeah, Steph has a good question. Does everyone like, I know 3D Musketeers answered this, but does anyone else like do printing on the side to like earn, I don't know. I was doing it for filament money to get more filament back in high school. But yeah, I'd be curious to know like everyone here, like why you guys might have gotten a printer, what you're using it for, how you use it. How about you, Steven? How do you use printers?
How do I use printers?
Like what were some of the earliest projects that you did?
I got really into like 3D design with Blender.
Yeah.
So like meshes and sculpting and like fancy geometry things, and I used 3D printing to turn those into real physical objects. I still kind of use 3D printing for that too. Um, but I've also gotten into like prototyping for uh, like engineering purposes. And I guess also running like the side business is something I've done for like 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, and it's kind of cool to see various projects of people in your community and being able to help them with it. It's quite cool.
Yeah, speaking of which, like Kevin is bringing up um, that there might even be a project
So,
for
tourniquets.
printing tourniquets. That'd be interesting
Interesting.
to try and support. That's cool. Hopefully, there's more details posted on Discord.
Yeah, because that's I've seen people on like trying to discuss like is there any way that 3D printing can be used to help over in Ukraine? Because we saw that during COVID, the face shield printing was a huge initiative by the 3D printing community, and we've seen that it can be done. Um, and yeah, if there's ever a chance to use 3D printing at scale for like a good cause, we want to hear about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's. I think also like when we were printing face shields, we were able to get them at like 1,000 a week,
Yeah,
which
on 9 printers.
yeah, on 9 printers, 1,000 a week with like one 3 hours of human time,
Yeah,
um, which is awesome. Which I think just proves that like a lot of these manufacturing shortages that we're seeing now should be solvable with 3D printing. I think the problem is just how do we scale it to get there, and having tools like the machine vision and automation for the machines for the printers uh, is a really good way of doing that. As we've seen, like some of the people we work with, like once they start automating their printers, they just get more and more and more printers.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see. Like they'll have had one for, like a year or something, and then they automate that one, and then they just get another one and like another one, and just start rapidly building up their print farms.
It's because automation's the future.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So like the easier we can make it to use the printers with tools like this, whether it's like for stopping fails or for education, I think we can get a whole bunch more people um into printing and like see a lot more creative uses of 3D printing too. Because right now you have to be like very technical to use a printer effectively, and the amount of time that these really smart people are just wasting, trying to get their machines all running smoothly could be used for designing better products or, designing cool projects that everyone else with a 3D printer can print. Um, if you saw something cool online and wanted to print it but weren't like super, I don't know, mechanically inclined, it might seem impossible to like download some open project online, print all the parts for yourself, and have this really cool thing. Um, so I think like yeah, education and just making the barrier to entry much lower is going to be really important.
yeah. So I guess we should talk a little bit about maybe what we need to do to get to the next level. Like, how are we going to end up turning Quinley Vision into something that people can use? Like, what needs to be done?
So um, yeah, so I guess deploying this project and getting it into everyone's hands is it's not very straightforward, I guess. It might seem kind of like you have this really neat, and this is like with everything I see on Reddit, I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. But then when you really dig into it, it doesn't make it's like actually really hard. And getting something like this is a very complicated piece of software. And yes, there are going to be a lot of people who can use it in its like roughest state. Um, but actually, if we're trying to have something that's scalable and that, people who want to get into printing, I want it to help them get into printing. If we want something like that, um, it's going to take a lot of work. And even just doing like, distributed coding, like doing like a project on GitHub, um, like that's good, but it's still not going to help. It's not going to like it'll help build the model potentially, but it's not going to. There's so much underlying infrastructure that has to be put into place. Like how does the how does all the training work? It's very difficult to distribute training workloads, especially if you don't have people working on it full time. Um, how does the infrastructure work? Does it have to run on certain hardware, or can it run on any hardware, and does it need to go to a server? And then like, how is that server managed? How is the time for the server set up? There's like a lot of development overhead. I mean, we've been working on this for 8 months already, um, and like, in order to make this really neat demo, but there's still like a pretty long ways to go in terms of getting it into everyone's hands, and that's what we wanted to ask everyone watching about, and the community is maybe to think of good ideas or ways for us to be able to get this out there, to be able to dedicate the amount of time and resources that are necessary in order to build um, something usable, something that you can use. Because I think like if this was just like a plugin that you could put on Octoprint or something, or plug into your printer, like that'd be awesome. But there is a lot of work that has to be done to get it there, and it's not just as simple. Like if I were to do this on my own time, or like as a group of hobbyists, like I did some rough road mapping stuff. Like it would take 2 or 3 years to get to the point that it needs to be. Um, so like in order for you to be able to get this like in a month or whatever, we have to hire developers. We have to have people working on it full time. Like this is their main thing. Um, and I'd be super stoked to do that. I think it'd be awesome. Um, but how we do something like that and keep everything like very community involved is I guess the what what uh what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah. Well, we need to know that people are going to want it.
yeah,
It's part of why we titled the Reddit post, is 360-degree failure detection useful?
yeah,
Because part of it was we want to know, will you guys use this? Is this something that people are wanting in the 3D printing community? Like the technology is awesome. It's really cool. Are we too early though? Or maybe, right? So, um, kind of what we want is we want to know if people are willing to like use this and people are willing to, for example, beta test. And one thing that we put together is on our website, quinleyvision.com, is if you want to be like the first to try it, um, even if it's in like a rough state, you can drop your email there and we'll contact you when it's uh, kind of in a developmental stage, but still usable for like, uh, yeah, if you kind of know your way around like a Raspberry Pi, for example, then you could definitely like beta test for us, right?
yeah,
And we need to know that people are willing to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to turn it into a usable product. Um, and because other than that, it'll just be, you know, a rough piece of technology that you might be able to use if you really know your stuff. But we want this to be available for everybody.
yeah. And maybe just to put it into perspective, like we're like a very, very small team. I think the the only thing that separates us from being 3D print hobbyists is the fact that we run a print farm and do that as our day job. Like it's
Yeah.
and work on automation as our day job, but like it's still not very far from it's like as if you were a full-time hobbyist kind of thing. Like
Isn't that what I do?
yeah, that's
It's a
like
full-time hobby.
that's why you work here, Steven. Um, but yeah, so like in order for us to make this a real thing, I think it's gonna be really yeah. I like in the chat, 3D Musketeers is mentioning something like Patreon might be a really good way to I guess fund the project or there's always stuff like Kickstarter too, which I know in this industry is it's
It's got a
it's
connotation.
got a connotation, but it is actually a really good way of keeping the control of technology with the community because you're not like beholden to certain stakeholders. So if that's something that you guys want to see, then that's the type of avenue we'd be looking at. And yeah, with when working with the community, that also comes with like involving people with beta testing and I know Stephen mentioned that we have a sign up specifically for that. Um, but it's it depends on like you said what is this useful and who is it useful to? If it's something that is useful to the community, I'm gonna try the hardest I can to make it a community driven project. But if it's so yeah, that's kind of what I'd really like to discuss in here and in Discord later for anyone that's watching the stream back.
Yeah, and actually, if anyone has experiences themselves with like a project that you didn't know if people would like and you needed to know if it's worth pursuing further, like let us know how your experience went. It's something we could talk about on Discord.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize like
It's
how
risky.
how well yeah like is anyone going to use it? Which Reddit has shown overwhelmingly yes, but then how are we going to get it to somewhere where everyone can use it? Because I
Mhm.
think even from the Reddit post, like a lot of people were saying how I'm not very technically inclined, but this looks cool as heck and I'd love to use it.
Mhm.
So like how do we get it to those people is the question. And yeah, like I think maybe next week we can talk about roadmap because I think it would be interesting, like just to show how much work and how much overhead is required for it.
Yeah.
Not to say, again, not to say that we can't do it. Like I think we've done something really really cool here. It's just like how do we get it to you faster? Like if you want this, you know, we have to work together to get it out really really quickly.
Yeah, 3D Musketeers
Suggesting
wants the
Patreon.
Patreon. Yeah, that could be a way to go. I haven't thought about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's like yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. It's again, it's like something we'd have to figure out
Yeah.
because yeah, again, it depends on like the yeah, or to
No, we're not going to come up with a
I
solution right
know on
now.
this live on this stream.
Yeah.
If anyone else has questions, though, please throw them in chat. I think we've mostly talked about what we want to talk about.
Yeah. And
Um,
also, I guess we should say, like, for like in the meantime, if you're still interested in this project, you can help us just by sending us videos and giving us, I guess, permission to share those videos with other people. Because one of the biggest things with AI projects is that it's hard to know for sure that an AI is going to do what you expect. So the more, I guess, cases that we have to prove that it does actually work, the better.
mhm.
And so I guess what you're seeing behind us is kind of our first demonstration of that. Of
Yeah, it's
that.
like a first public test, but even that
Yeah.
did not go perfectly. Like, there's some things that I learned from this, and I'm like, okay, there are these certain things that we have to improve on detecting. But that's perfect because that's how it should go. You send something out to the community, get them to test it, find out what's not working, and then send them a new version and keep doing that. And I think that's the ideal development cycle for something like this. You don't want to be like closed off working on this in the dark like I have been for the last couple months. But yeah, you definitely need uh, like widespread involvement.
So just like there's robots watching robots, there's community and 3DQ, and we need to make sure that we're both aligned on our way on our way up.
Yeah,
No failed prints, no failed projects. It's kind of the analogy I'm thinking of right now.
yeah, that's cool.
So you guys are Quinley Vision, we're Quinley.
So yeah, right, if you guys know, like the other thing that would really help is spreading the word around to see, are there people that are willing to uh, support the project and beta test it, or do you know somebody just like maybe with a farm who might want to use this at some point, um, and have them either share the post, maybe have them join our Discord so that they can keep informed, and so that we can get a sense of like, okay, if we're building this, what exactly do you need to be built? Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, so people in chat, I don't know if you all know, but we have a game.
we have a game actually.
We have not talked about it yet, but
Should we talk about it?
I think we should talk about it. It's called 3D Printle. So one thing that we did like a couple weeks ago is we had Quinley Vision, but we wanted to give people a way to, I guess, interact with it. So what we did is we put together kind of a game where essentially you get shown a 3D print and you get to, I guess, try to identify a fail as if you were uh, like an AI trying to spot a fail. And you can see, I guess when we put it on the screen, sort of what we put together here. So
It's kind of goofy, but it's also kind of really cool. So you're playing. It's also another version of a demo. You're playing
yeah,
like against Quinley Vision or with Quinley Vision or whatever. So there's two modes where you can uh, play easy mode where the boxes are drawn for you and you just have to pick what type the AI thought it was.
so you have to think like what fail is this? Just name it. Is
Yeah.
it over extrusion? Is it a layer shift? You have to just choose what fail it is.
And
That's
th-
easy mode.
and then hard mode makes you draw the boxes, and then it compares where you drew the boxes to where like the actual answer is. And this mode is actually really hard.
What is called hard mode?
Um, yeah, you don't have to sign in to play, but if you sign in, your points get saved. And the cool thing is like if you come back uh day after day, you'll see here, I'll just sign in and I'll show you. Um, there's a progress bar at the top. And so every time we hit some kind of level milestone, uh, the AI is going to get retrained and it's going to be a little bit harder. And the images are going to be a little bit harder. So if any of you are interested in playing this, go to 3dprintle.com. Because
I'll put
yeah,
the link in
paste it
chat.
in the chat. Um, yeah, but we were thinking, might be a cool thing to show another fun demo. Like, okay, so this benchy looks pretty perfect, but there's actually a little bit of stringing here, so I'm gonna highlight that.
It's very minor.
Very minor, but going back to the detection we've been able to do, it does
It can
detect
detect
it.
stringing. It's actually quite good at detecting
Yeah.
stringing.
So I did okay job.
Also, it should be worth mentioning, if you want to watch a whole stream about Printle, or 3D Printle, we've done a couple weeks ago. But also, if you know Polymaker, the filament manufacturer,
Oh yeah, he
the
did a
guy
really
Nicholas there played a bunch of games, and uh, like he was new to the game when he played it, so it was pretty cool to see
yeah,
him.
he did a really cool stream. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, this is definitely stringing.
Oh yeah, and we got a comment here, making us trainers for your bot. Haha. Yeah, so actually,
Not
on the
really.
guest mode, nothing gets saved. Like you don't even none of us get that data. Um, and I don't know, it's not exactly useful for training data.
No,
Like,
because it's like the bot has already generated the answers. So like the you're playing against, answers that have already been generated. If we see significant deviation, we might like look at that and be like, oh, Quinley vision is wrong. Um, but yeah, if you're playing on guest mode, it doesn't save anything. If that's your concern. But
yeah,
one of the things we were thinking about is like for people who do play it a lot and collect a lot of points, you can see in the top right of the screen here, uh, maybe giving them like perks when the actual vision stuff comes out, or I don't know,
yeah.
like
Well,
giving them
if you get like 100, or
like
10,000 points or something,
get like early
you
access or
get
something.
early access to Quinley Vision. That could
Yeah,
be something.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Just as a thanks to for supporting. Like that's one thing that I really want to maintain, no matter how the project goes, is for people who are, um, contributing, give something back, whether it's like early access to certain features or um, like use of certain features. I don't know, depending on how things go, I'd like really love to be able to give our top contributors something like so that they feel like their work was worth it. And I think it is worth it because um like being able to do something like Quinley Vision and being able to get it out there is so cool. Like I think everyone can universally agree on like the 3D with the detection is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's also super useful. So it would be awesome to be able to get it out there. Sorry, I'm just playing this in the background. It's too fun.
Uh, Steph says, haven't you found that the AI sees things that humans can't?
That's a good question. Yeah. So the way that like AI inference generally works, do you want to play while I explain this?
I can play, yeah.
Oh, I did a good job. Okay,
Nice.
you play. Yeah, the thing that's really cool about machine vision is like it works, you can rely on cameras and cameras don't really work how the human eye works. Um, and so you can use that to your advantage. like inference, like AI inference or detection can work with really low resolution images, and it can also work in really, really low light. Because in the computer and your camera software, you can boost contrast, you can boost light levels in a way that you can't really do with human eyes. So oftentimes, um, like just looking at a web feed that's trained on your print, um, as a human, you might not see certain issues because it's either too low resolution or it just doesn't, it like doesn't stand out from the rest of the image. But a machine vision model can manipulate the image and look for specific values or edit the contrast in a way that your brain can't really do. And so it can like reveal things that would not be obvious to you as a human. And if you can imagine, like, you know, even like in person,
Like this one.
this one's
There's so much stuff that I can't see here.
that this is a really good example of one. Like, what's actually going on there? Well,
If you can see the RGB values, maybe you'd be able to figure out.
yeah, like you could boost the contrast of that area to see
Mhm.
if there's anything going on in there in that shadow. Um, but yeah, so that's something that's really important because just having like a remote webcam connected to your printer is not often enough to be able to catch things really early, like we're trying to do. Um, the other thing is like just having a remote webcam connected to your printer, it doesn't mean you're going to be watching it 24/7. So even if something does go wrong, you're only going to catch it when you have time to. Whereas this thing, doesn't really sleep. It's a computer. So it can definitely, you can keep it working 24/7 and it won't complain too much.
Oh,
Oh,
oh no. That was I haven't really gotten a zero.
nozzle blob.
Uh, it was kind of
Fuck.
spaghetti looking. I was thinking about putting a nozzle blob. You guys saw there's proof. But I couldn't see it
There's
because it was
video
too
evidence.
shadowed.
Yeah.
So I was
Well, you didn't turn up the contrast in your eyeballs.
no, I don't have that technical ability. Ah, zero. Feels bad.
Yeah. Unlucky.
I think that was the last one of the day.
That is the last one for today.
There we go. How do we do? Better than
Ooh.
67% of players.
Okay, top 30. That's not too bad.
That's not bad though, yeah. So the average score was 1390. I got 1462.
Yeah.
What we got?
Assuming that Quinley Vision is the most accurate, which it might not be.
Yeah, part of this assumes that whatever Quinley Vision gets is the best score you could possibly get.
Yeah.
And
We'll have to-
it's just a picture, so there's no technically correct answer. But I think Quinley Vision's guess at what the best answer is as close as possible to a solution that we can generate automatically. It would be really hard to find out what the actual ground truth solution is for any of these problems.
Yeah, it's more of a fun demo. That's like fun to play.
Nozzle cam to detect failures mid-print is amazing, and I imagine could be quite a bit easier. Yeah, so that nozzle cam is that endoscope idea I think that we were talking about a bit earlier.
Yeah.
I kind of think that they could both be combined.
I think so too.
Because yeah, like being able to see the small details in a print, like maybe under extrusion, is more visible because of a nozzle cam, or maybe you can even see if filaments bubbling because it's like maybe you're printing nylon and it's wet, or even things like stringing. It might like Quinley Vision can actually see stringing pretty well, but the nozzle cam it might be a lot more clearer to see. Especially if maybe you're using a lower quality webcam or there's lighting issues or something like that.
Yeah.
If you have like a nozzle cam with an LED right there shining on whatever the nozzle's looking at, then yeah, could definitely be running some AI. Nice job, Steve-O. Thanks, Kevin.
I'll put it up. There you go. Nice job, Steve.
Thank you. It's also Mateo. He did the first two.
Yeah, the better scores, let's just say.
Ooh,
So
Hey, I got like 50,
I
no,
didn't get the
154 out of
I
155
didn't
on
get
there.
that zero though.
No, felt bad about
Whatchamacallit? I'll use the game to train my
that.
10-year-old. Oh, that'd be interesting. Like, what like human level is the AI at any given point? Like, is
Smarter than a 10-year-old?
yeah, is it better than a 10-year-old? Is it worse? Maybe we just need to get a just like maybe this is a bit dark. Maybe we get a room full of 10-year-olds and just have them watch everyone's webcam feeds.
Who can catch the fails
Yeah.
first?
That's what happens if we don't receive enough community support
Hmm.
to be able to afford to build out the model and the Quinley Vision model. Quinley Vision will actually just be a room full of 10-year-olds dragging boxes over your prints in real time.
That's like a dystopian image.
Thanks for stopping by, whatchamacallum. I'm a big fan of your username.
That's a cool name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of one of the ideas behind 3D Printle was actually the potential to train people who had never even really encountered print fails before. So, for example, 10-year-olds who have never 3D printed in their life, you need to probably train them on what to do if you get like a layer shift or what a layer shift even looks like. Um, so being able to see like hundreds of different examples of fails in like a fun kind of way could be a really good way to train and or like teach like beginners what types of print fails there are and how to deal with them. So
Yeah.
on the point of how to deal with these print fails, I've actually made a bunch of videos on this channel talking about the different print fails that Quinley Vision can detect. So if you check out our channel, and you can subscribe to it if you want, we have a playlist going over all the different failure modes that we have detecting by Quinley Vision. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it goes into a lot of detail about exactly how each thing is detected and what it's looking for.
mhm. And also how you can avoid it from happening on your prints. So, like on the warping video, I say this is how Quinley Vision looks for warping, but also uh, how do you just stop warping from happening on your prints to begin with? Because at the end of the day, we just want people to have less print fails in general. Um, so
I think
those were,
it would be nice to have less print fails in general.
yeah, it would be a good goal as a community to have
Also
less
tends to
fails.
just they come even if you don't get them often, they tend to come at like the worst possible time. Like
Yeah,
when you have a print job or you have like a limited amount of free time to use your printer and then you are suddenly dealing with a giant like nozzle blob or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Uh, do we have anything else scheduled?
No, not
No.
really. I think we're
Okay.
getting close to the end.
Well,
So
yeah. If anyone has any last questions they want to throw into chat, let us know. We'll answer them. Outside of that, like definitely help share the project around, and we're yeah, it'd be awesome to try and figure something out. Um, how we can keep this community based. Um, next stream we can talk a bit about like logistically what has to happen in
yeah,
terms of a roadmap. Um, and yeah, stay tuned too. Like we'll be doing more posts of more tech demos as we keep working on this. So I yeah, highly recommend like keep your eyes out for uh we'll be posting everything on this YouTube channel. So if you just want to find it there, you can subscribe. But if you yeah, we'll also be posting things to our Discord and to Reddit.
yeah,
Um, if you signed up for the email list, you'll also get like we're planning to use that as kind of a inner I don't know like inner circle of very interested people who want to actually test stuff and beta test and help out on that front.
yeah. And if you want to beta test and sign up for that, go to quinleyvision.com and there'll be a way to sign up there.
Yeah, it's just an email thing. Yeah, so thanks everyone for stopping by, for the insane the insane response on the Reddit post. I think there's some really awesome conversation there. Um, yeah, and I'm excited to keep to see what's next with this, because I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see such strong response to this project. I think it'll be really awesome.
Yeah, and then if you guys have more questions later, join our Discord or just ask us on Discord. We'll be there. And we'll do another live stream next week. Same time, same place.
Yeah, Wednesdays 4:30 PST.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well,
That's it for today.
yeah. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.